Another thing is there's a lot of Christian aligned schools. St. Joseph's Academy, Early Education Center, primary, junior, and secondary school, you can see here. Uh, the second division, that second division is our first division here. Okay. School motto: self-discipline and hard work. Core values: service to God, honesty and integrity, excellence, commitment, and respect. School vision: to foster a holistic education and bring up morally upright learners, globally oriented citizens for church and society. Mission: to be an institution that enhances knowledge and nurtures talents learners to serve as responsible global citizens. Like, is this globalist stuff? Like, the church was the initial globalists before they were like the United Nations and those kind of people. The church was really globalist, like religions and faiths that way. But I'm speaking in purposes here. Religions and faiths is the same thing as the UN and other things. But you have this kind of things. The language here, if this was being taken in an American school now, they'd be like, what's going on right now? I think people both in the political right and the political left in general would have issues with this being like something that is being advertised for schools. But at the same time, when you come here, this is probably like a good school to send your kids. A lot of people in the area would be like, it's good. I've sent my kids to St. Joseph's. They probably have decent scores. I don't know how much that ties in. But also another thing with local cultures is how much they've tied in Christianity. There's a mosque somewhere here, so some Islam's also coming in, but how much they've tied in religions and faiths from other countries into the place, and of course now the technology and developing certain aspects. So you're seeing that mix. I'm going to be working on a project starting this year, just trying to get like the older stories. What were the teachings? What were the faiths? What were the cultural ideas and things like that before you had influence coming from the international area? And then there's just another aspect of developing countries. A lot of the places, a few people will have that whole thing of like, oh, we need to take away the foreign influence of these cultures. But when it comes down to considering how religious people are here, I hardly ever see them also say, we need to take away Christianity, because that is also influenced from foreign people. That's a Bronze Age religion that started in the Middle East, and then that was gone, and it was tied into the way things were going in Europe because enough of the peasantry were absorbing it. So like, okay, we're going to tie that in. It's a long story with that kind of stuff. Then it was brought here with the colonials, and then now it's been absorbed. And as I've shown you with the different churches in different locations, it's been absorbed where now, okay, there's another sugarcane truck I was talking about before. So it's been absorbed now where it's actually taken in by the actual people themselves. And even in some of those churches, I think in this mission that I have to actually get these cultural things in there, it will probably get to the point where I'll be going to churches and seeing some of these smaller churches, how they tie in their own cultural, locational ideas and teachings into the way they preach the gospel, just the same way. This is what the Europeans did at the same time of development of this, where they took that Bronze Age religion and took some aspects that was taught in the Middle East when it was invented, and then they brought it to Europe and tied it in with things that were appropriate for Europe. And just with some of the things that we had this weekend, some of the ceremonies. It was a Catholic, my aunt was a Catholic, so there was a Catholic priest and ceremony at the different remembrance ceremonies and the funeral. And it was interesting seeing them using Kiswahili, and I think they used Sambuya a bit, to do the Latin Mass, where they have that, the tone that we go, na 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 na. You know how they say it, like, Domini Patri, Santo, that kind of thing. They did that, but they were doing it with Swahili or these local languages. So they were tying it in. I'm like, why did you invent your own kind of look at things like that? Why are you doing the Latin stuff if that's not the language? But anyway, this is my hotel. I'm gonna go check out now. In addition to that post, there's an Apostle Takim thing over there. There's a picture of it, talking about what the schooling kind of situation is with the marketing. And you get the kids and you teach them certain things and you market them to certain mind views, points of views, mindsets about the world. And that's a known way to pass on, inculcate, change the way certain cultures behave. And I'm not even against that. Like, it's good to teach people certain things, even though I think certain things are better to be taught than others. But here is another version of that. We saw in that school in Kakamega how the church was doing that locally. We saw how Hakim was doing his advertising there. But now there's also this newer type of thing of international schools fair. So now with this one, this is not going to be international schools. There's international schools here in Kenya, where it's like it's an international school, so it's being taught on the US versions or British versions or other versions like that. International institutions come and set up the schools here. But there's also a whole lot of this going on where kids from Kenya in more well-off families, or you can get scholarships and things like that, you go to other countries and you learn there. And then of course when you go there, I probably have some of that in myself too, have certain biases and points of views pointed more towards the United States of America. Yeah, I was born in France, but I left when I was 5. But I went to most of my school, middle school, high school, and college in the United States of America. So I have certain points of views that might be more pro-US from my experience there and whatever indoctrination or actual positive experiences that I had in school. That kind of helped. That's part of what goes on. And then foreign exchange and whatnot. So that's a form of foreign exchange. It's a foreign exchange of having the currency in that sense. But now there's a foreign exchange also in ideas and culture. And those are things that you kind of wonder. And like I said, I've said this before, might have said this in the Kakamega video. I've recorded this some time after. Not sure if I said that in it. But you have the whole thing where people are like, okay, one of the bad things about the West is it's poisoning the culture. Western culture is poisoning Kenya, colonialism and all these things. Ruin these things, we'd be better off without the Mzungus. But when it comes to things like religion, they're not necessarily against that. When it comes to things like education in general, you don't really hear too many local people or people who might be saying that sort of thing, saying, oh, we need to drop mathematics, we need to drop the scientific method, oh, we even need to drop the English language in general. They understand that there are some benefits with that, and you have some sort of exchanges that way through education, through teaching, through your interest of what you want for your kids in that sense. Yeah, till next time.